Welcome into the Hard Count, the People's College Football Show. Hope you had a fantastic Memorial Day. It is Tuesday, May 27th, 2025. Last one on the face of the planet, y'all. It's that time of year. Preview magazines starting to hit the shelves. Barnes & Noble, I think, is getting Athlon on their shelves here pretty soon. I don't think Borders exists. Maybe your favorite gas station is carrying a little Phil Steele action. We got some anonymous coaches talking crazy, okay? Now, some of it we agree with. Some of it we think, like I just said, is a bit crazy, but we're going to give you our thoughts on a couple of these anonymous coaches' quotes on specific SEC teams. We got coaches talking about John Mateer in Oklahoma. Was that a gamble, taking John Mateer? Gamble feels like a little bit of a stretch for my money. People talking about DJ Lagway. Could he be the best quarterback in the SEC? We'll give you our thoughts there as it pertains to that quote. But before we get to that, I want to start with this. Is college football okay? I asked y'all on my Twitter page, at JD PicKell, for your thoughts, and we got a smattering of different answers. Some people saying, it's not great, but I don't hate the place it's at right now. Some people saying that thing is absolutely off the rails. I hate where college football is right now. Here's my thought, man. I've said this many times on this show. I do not like the direction of college football. I don't like the direction. Now, when you say things like that, it sounds like you're speaking to college football as a whole as being in a bad spot. College football is not in a bad spot. There's a lot of things about this sport that are still tremendous, but in terms of direction, there's a lot of headlines out there that you and I are just not big fans of, man. There's a lot of things out there that don't feel quite as familiar to the fabric that we fell in love with when it came to when we first saw our first college football game, whether it was in person or you were listening to Keith Jackson on the broadcast. Like, there's a lot about it that doesn't totally align with what that era was. The transfer portal. I think player mobility is a great thing. It's out of control. We need regulation. We have the college football playoff changing every 5 minutes. Just changed last week when it comes to how we're going to see that thing. We've been pretty vocal about that. We thought 4 was good. We're going to go to 16, it feels like, here tomorrow. That might be the case. I have no idea when that's going to change, but looks like we're headed that direction. We have different things as it pertains to the way that NIL is being regulated or not regulated. Like there's a lot out there that just, again, doesn't feel foundational to what we fell in love with this sport, but we can hate the headlines and still understand that we have one of the greatest sports on the face of planet Earth. So the thing I've said for a while about college football, the comparison I've made, college football is a beautiful, beautiful national park full of natural beauty. Like you got the trees and the mountains, and you got the rivers, you got the bands, and you got the stadiums, and you got the feel on Saturday, you got noon kickoffs. There's so much about college football that just naturally, without any commercial push, is just beautiful. But what we're having happen now is we have some people that want to put a roller coaster in the middle of that national park. Why? Well, JD, it would make money. It would bring attention. It'd be a good thing. Well, yeah, it would make money if you put a roller coaster in the middle of Yosemite, but would it be good for the sport? Would it be good for the national park? I don't think so. So we're effectively trying to, as an entire population now, put a roller coaster in the middle of the national park that is college football with all those things I just mentioned. Now, with that being said, it's not a theme park just yet. It's still a national park. Like, I look at college football, and while I don't love that roller coaster in the middle of the whole thing, I still see a lot of the things that I fell in love with, that you fell in love with. We keep saying this, man, but like the soul of college football, I think, is still in there. Might be a little bit deeper than it was before, but it's still in there. You go watch Rivalry Saturday, you got folks getting pepper sprayed at the 50-yard line. It mattered to both those sides in that Michigan-Ohio State game. You got the Arizona State-Arizona game where you got a Triton being planted at midfield. You got, like, there's still a lot of soul, I think, behind this sport. And as long as that exists, college football, I think, is still going to be in a stable place. Now, the direction may not be tremendous, and we got to figure this thing out. We got to course correct a little bit. But that's the big thing, right? Like, college football is in a place where we are still figuring out how this whole thing is going to work. Like, I miss the Pac-12. You probably aren't the biggest fan of conference realignment, depending on where you are in this whole situation. But, like, college football isn't even where it's going to be yet for the next 20 years. The thing's still changing. We're in the evolving state right now. And so, while you're on a road trip, it's best to voice your opinion, but it's also best to be careful not to totally make a definitive statement. Like, nobody likes the guy complaining on the road trip. Nobody likes the guy that's just whining the entire time when you're getting to where you're eventually going to be. I happen to believe that eventually we're going to get to a place in college football where I'm being optimistic here, but I think more intelligent minds will prevail and we'll find a way to preserve what this sport still is. But like, y'all, it's still, like I just said, it's an evolving process. Like, we had leather helmets in football for the better part of 15 to 20 years. We might take a second to figure out a college football playoff. It took us 15 years to figure out to put the right headwear on these guys, all right? Like, it's going to take some time. And so while it's okay for us to voice our, displeasure with the direction of this sport, I think it's also okay for us to say, as long as we still have what's special about this sport intact, we're in a spot where this isn't something worth totally just, opening the car door and saying, I'm out of this thing, get me out of the vehicle. That's not where we're at just yet. So what would have me out on college football, which is a very dramatic way to say it, but I got to think about that when I started to answer this question, is college football okay? As long as game day is still recognizable, as long as there's still players enrolled at schools that care about that school enough to start a fight after the game, see rivalry weekend, I think we're okay. As long as those bands are still there, as long as all the differentiating factors that make college football are still visible, I think we're okay. Now, it's, again, evolving, so it's not going to be okay just because we say it's okay, but I really believe that we're going to be okay here long term. So that's my feel on this. If you don't like where we're at right now, I understand. I'm not even all the way disagreeing. There's a lot we don't like about this thing right now, but long term, I think we're going to get to a place where college football ultimately is okay and will be okay. And I keep saying this. There's too many intelligent people that care about college football to let this sport go down a path that is ultimately going to lead in just ultimate disaster. Some disastrous things happening along the way, but ultimate disaster, I don't see that happening for us here long term. All right, again, appreciate y'all being tuned in, man. Make sure you are subscribed. College football year-round. We got the sickos on board now. It's the month of May, so we're getting some people starting to trickle back this way and say, college football's right around the corner, isn't it? Oh, yeah, it's been right around the corner for us on this show. It's college football year-round, so we appreciate y'all being subscribed. Something happened last week that we haven't really touched on just yet on the show. The college football playoff is switching to straight seeding. Now, what that means is long gone as of a few days ago, are the college football playoff bids that would get you a bye in the college football playoff for winning your conference. Because remember now, it used to be if you won the Big 12 or the ACC or the SEC or the Big 10, you were in a good spot to then get a bye the first round of the college football playoff. That was how that was working. Okay, now it wasn't always how it was going to work going forward. The verbiage within that was the 4 highest ranked conference champions would get a bye, is a more simplistic way to say it for us here on this show. That is no longer the case. How it's going to work is wherever you're ranked in the college football playoff rankings is how you are seeded according to the college football playoff format. Now, it's also important to note, winning your conference still gets you an automatic bid into the playoff. It does not get you an automatic bye. So I like this way more because I think it rewards teams as opposed to conferences. But I got to thinking, man, you know who's coming up smelling like roses right now? Is Notre Dame. Notre Dame emphatically is the winner of straight seeding in the college football playoff. And here's what I want to make sure we highlight. This is a good lesson for all of us in college football and in life. Play the long game, dude. Play the long game. Block out the noise. Block out all the naysayers. Block out all the people from the cheap seats that aren't actually within your circle, and just do you. Because that is what Notre Dame has done here. Remember, the 12-team playoff becomes a thing, and the clause within that is, well, hey, Notre Dame, they're not in a conference, so therefore you will not ever be able to get a bye in the college football playoff. A lot of people, myself included, started saying, well, is this that event that forces Notre Dame's hand to say, hey, you know what, this NBC money is good, but a bye in the college football playoff, are we sure we want to pass up on that? Are we sure that's worth us sticking independent for? Credit Notre Dame, stuck to their guns, stuck to their process, stuck to their NBC money, which again I'm sure is pretty good. And after 1 year of the 12-team playoff, they are in a position now in the straight seeding to be able to get a bye in the first round of the college football playoff if they finish in the top 4. Now, last year too, it's worth noting, with all the conversation around Notre Dame not joining the conference and this and that, Notre Dame made $20 million during their college football playoff run for making the playoff, for the run they had in the playoff, and they split that with their conference. That is themselves. Did not have to share that $20 million with anybody. So Notre Dame, once again, played the long game, stuck to their script, came up smelling like roses. And so now as we look to the future, if I'm Notre Dame, you're still independent, can now get a bye. Like, what is the thing that Notre Dame lacks now that will keep them from being a powerhouse in college football for the future? Because you had your nice run this past year. You make a run to the national championship and you lose to Ohio State in the fourth quarter, whatever. It is what it is. But, like, I don't see a clear governor on Notre Dame. Like, I think one of the best coaches in the sport, Marcus Freeman. Okay, check. Talent, just had 6 players drafted. And by nature of your on-field product, you're only going to attract more talent here. Notre Dame, as it stands right now, top 5 in the On3 industry team recruiting rankings for 2026. Okay, got it. I mean, your core nucleus is pretty solid when it comes to guys you get via the portal as well. You've kind of become a destination in that way. There's nothing that I'm looking at with Notre Dame that says, yeah, that's going to keep them from winning at a high level, though. Before, you might have said, well, not playing in a conference makes their playoff route maybe a touch more difficult. That's not the case anymore. You get a bye in the first round of the college football playoff now if you're Notre Dame if you finish in the top 4 during the regular season, at least for this final year of the 12-team format. Who knows from what it looks like beyond this. Now, there's some people that are going to say, well, but JD, hosting the college football playoff game virtually every year for Notre Dame, they lose that money. It's kind of a loss for them, no? Well, I mean, I suppose you could argue that, but one, I don't think you're ever turning down a bye in the college football playoff. That's first. Second, Notre Dame can still host a playoff game if they don't end up getting a first-round bye. Like, Notre Dame isn't exempt now from somehow hosting a college football playoff game just because we go to straight seeding. So the moral of the story here is Notre Dame, no governor on their success, nothing keeping them from succeeding at the highest level, at least from what I can gather. If you want to be real nitpicky, you could say academic standards. Okay, I hear that. But, like, stuck to their script, and now a year after the first year of the 12-team college football playoff has happened, they switched the seeding, they switched the format. Notre Dame in very good shape for the future. Credit Marcus Freeman and the powers that be over there for just taking this thing on the chin and rolling with it all the way through. With all the outside noise, they did not flinch. Love that about Marcus Freeman, love that about Notre Dame. Just continue to say what's next, continue to accomplish all they've accomplished and dominate all the obstacles in their way. Now, we're in this part of the year now where I think it's appropriate for us to just kind of unpack this together as preview magazines start to come out. You all probably have your favorite preview magazine that you subscribe to. We have a couple of them we like on this show. Phil Steele does a great job. Lindy's is great. Me personally, I've been partial to Athlon for some time now, and Athlon does a great couple of segments within their magazine where they highlight quotes from anonymous coaches they talk to as it pertains to other teams in college football. So we got a couple of anonymous coaches talking about some teams in the SEC that I want us to highlight together because I don't know who these coaches are. That's why they're anonymous. But I also would say I don't know what like the threshold is for a coach like that label. Is a coach a GA? Is a coach a guy who's been a coordinator for several years? What qualifies a coach in this whole discussion of these coaches that are anonymous? But we had one coach that gave an anonymous quote to Athlon talking about Jean Mateer. Go ahead and check this out really quick. I want to read this off for y'all. Quote, "It's a huge gamble that Mateer can come in and immediately acclimate to playing against the defenses in this league. We'll see if he can do it because that's what will determine this staff's future." All right, so there's a lot there. My first thought, though, when I read that, am I missing something? Jean Mateer was a gamble for Oklahoma? What's the gamble? The gamble that he hasn't played against the SEC? Okay, I guess I could hear that. Is it more of a gamble than rolling out there with what you had in that quarterback room? That last year, we all understand, was not nearly up to par? Say what you want about Jackson Arnold. Say what you want about Michael Hawkins Jr. Jean Mateer is an upgrade. And that's not me being on the Jean Mateer hype train, which we very frankly have been the conductor of here for some time. Is it gamble? What's the gamble here? Is it a gamble from a talent perspective? I don't think so. Dude who accounted for 44 touchdowns last year. A dude who was arguably the best quarterback in the transfer portal, depending on how you feel about Carson Beck. I don't think so. Okay, was it a gamble that you put him with the same offensive coordinator and quarterback coach that he had that production with at Washington State? Doesn't feel like a gamble to me. Feels like a pretty safe bet. Feels like a relatively as sure a thing as you can have via the portal with a new offensive staff. Think about it this way. If you didn't bring in Jean Mateer and you brought somebody else in, you're gambling they can not just play in the SEC, whoever they were. You're gambling they can mesh with this new offensive system from spring into fall camp by game one for the schedule that Oklahoma has. I want a dude who's been with me with the live bullets flying in that system. I want a guy who's running the offense that he's comfortable running. And Jean Mateer has run that system at Washington State. And again, I told you, ran it at a top 15 level when it came to the points per game that Washington State was scoring. I don't get this at all. Like, to me, I'm not holding my breath with John Mateer if he's going to be any good. I think he's going to go nuts at Oklahoma. Like, why? Because he went nuts at Washington State. Because he has, I think, better weapons than what he had at Washington State. Now, the schedule is what would make you, I think, a little bit tentative, but I'm not so worried about John Mateer and can he play in the SEC. We know he can play. My question is everything else around him. Can the offensive line be good enough? You're not gambling on John Mateer. In fact, I think you are banking on John Mateer as your sure thing. Your offensive line and them being good enough is what the gamble is. I think your defense with Brent Venables and him being able to replace that leadership with the Danny Stutzman and Billy Bowman, that's, to me, much more of a gamble. John Mateer is, again, where I'm putting my chips. Also, we'll say this too, the gamble for Miami, when they took Cam Ward from Washington State, guy who had never played against the ACC before. I get it, different conferences, different number of draft picks from those conferences, but worked out okay for them, I would say. Also, if you're gambling on somebody, you're gambling on someone that you are very, very familiar with if you're Ben Arbuckle, okay? It's a gamble in the sense that you're bringing him into your football team to play in a new conference, but it's not a gamble in the sense of, well, what are we getting with this guy? You've had him on your roster for several years at Washington State. You know what you're getting in this guy. I think that was a big reason why John Mateer was the guy at Oklahoma. So Oklahoma could have gone after somebody else in the portal. They went after the guy they felt good about. So John Mateer, anonymous coach saying he's a gamble. I don't see that at all. Again, I don't know what coach is saying this. I don't know what level coach is saying this. But to me, the gamble would be sticking with what you had in that room and saying, okay, just because you played in the SEC a year ago, we trust you to go out there and be better than you were last. No, that's not how this works. So I trust John Mateer. I think he'll be phenomenal. I think he's going to be one of the top quarterbacks in the SEC next year. Full stop. Now, speaking of top quarterbacks in the SEC, we had an anonymous coach talking about Florida with a pretty interesting quote, and I want to go ahead and read this for y'all right now. DJ Lagway could compete with Arch Manning for the best quarterback in the SEC. Lagway and that offensive line are legit enough to bring back a true Florida offense. If they can be in the hunt for a playoff bid and start scoring points like those old Gator programs, I think he'll be off the hot seat for a while, end quote. Of course, he's speaking to Billy Napier when it comes to the whole hot seat conversation. Now, I want to start with the Billy Napier side, and then I want to go to DJ Lagway. I hope that Florida has success in 2025. One, because I like Billy Napier. But two, because I hope that them having success just gives a massive chill pill to the rest of the college football world, that you can be patient with your head coach and understand that not every situation your head coach that you hired walking into is created equal. Because when Billy Napier got there, I think we can all agree now, it was not a situation where you could win right away in that conference. It wasn't. Billy Napier said it. We saw it happen on the field a few times. We saw them improve from this last season. It was not a situation where you were already ready-made to go win football games, compete for the SEC championship. Like, it takes some time to get your guys in, to get your culture in, and all those things. And so for them having success here, and I guess it's going to be year 4 now for Billy Napier, like, okay, let's understand, it takes a second. It takes a second, and it's okay for it to take a second. I think we're in a world right now where the portal has provided such a desire for us to win right now, but just what I said, not every job is created equal. Not every league is created equal. It's much harder to turn a boat around in the monsoon that is the SEC. I've said this for a couple of times. Billy Napier got that job. That job, we'll go ahead and equate it to like a sailboat. That sailboat had holes in the sail. It had a rudder that was broken. It had holes in the bottom of the boat. And then you push it out there and hope it works in just the storm, the monsoon that is the SEC and what that schedule was. Yeah, it's no surprise that when you put some tape over that thing and throw a true freshman quarterback out there that it's not going to be a perfect situation, or the roster that he inherited, it's not going to be a perfect situation. But as time progresses, do some work on that sailboat, do the things you're supposed to do from a roster level, you start to see some return there. So I really would love to see Billy Napier have success, just to quiet all that noise down, because we on this show, during last year after A&M, we're like, hey, he's cooked. He's cooked. And some of it might have been the buyout. I'm sure a lot of it had to do with that. Some of it might have been the belief in where the thing was headed. But I think that would just be a tremendous, tremendous example to the rest of the college football world. Hey, these things take time, and that's okay. And that's okay. Now, to the DJ Lagway side of this, I think he's sensational. All right, I think DJ Lagway is going to be very, very good this year. I think what that quote spoke to of this Florida offense next year resembling previous Florida offenses isn't just smoke and mirrors. They have not had a difference maker at quarterback since Tim Tebow, like DJ Lagway. Hear me? That is saying a lot. That's how much I believe in him. That's how much I believe he's going to be a dude for them next year. I am as high on DJ Lagway as there is in college football. So I want to say that. But I also want to speak to what that quote said, where he says he could be the best quarterback in the SEC next year. I suppose he could be, but in today's world of social media and hype this and hype that and goat this and goat that, like, can we just for 1 second say that DJ Lagway is going to be really good before we say he's going to be the best quarterback in the SEC? Can we just say that and not have it be a slight on the kid or a slight on whoever said that as a coach? Like, also, it's worth noting that coach is comparing DJ Lagway to Arch Manning as the best quarterback in the SEC. Y'all, we haven't even seen Arch Manning start a full season yet for Texas. Neither have we with DJ Lagway. Saw Garrett Nussmeier tear it up last year. Saw Lenore Sellers tear it up last year. Why can't we just say DJ Lagway is going to be awesome? I just compared the guy to Tebow in terms of a difference maker, and that should be good enough for Florida. Like, hear me clearly, but the reason why I have a little bit of an issue with us harping so much on that part of the conversation is I think it diminishes everything else that Billy Napier has done at Florida. It almost doesn't take it into account. Like, this is actually a really good roster at Florida around DJ Lagway. Now, it's a situation where if you want to, accomplish all your hopes and dreams, those are tied to DJ Lagway, okay? Those are tied to him being the best quarterback in the SEC, making the playoff, winning the conference, all those things. That's tied to number 2. But, y'all, this team around him is good enough to where they should win regardless of whatever kind of production DJ Lagway gives you outside of him being some unforeseen disaster at quarterback, which I don't think is going to happen. That is not me saying DJ Lagway cannot play or can be unhealthy or any of those things, and they'll still be good. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is the roster around him, like I just said, that brings back top 20 production, that has some real battle scars on it, that at the end of last year, had to scratch and fight and claw against 2 really good defense or good offenses, I should say, in LSU and Ole Miss. Like, this is a good roster around DJ Lagway as well. And so, like, if you want to, have this movie go win an Oscar, yeah, your lead actor has to put on a performance. Okay, like Leo's got to go do his thing. Will Ferrell's got to do his thing. Okay, Tom Cruise, Mission Impossible, got to do his thing. But it's a good movie regardless. Like, the supporting cast, the script, all that. I am a fan of what Florida is outside of DJ Lagway. So I hear what this coach is saying, and I'm not telling you that he's ultimately going to end up being wrong. But I want us to all just take a deep breath for a second and acknowledge we don't need DJ Lagway to be the best quarterback in the SEC for Florida to win games this year. And a lot of that, just what I said at the top of this thing, you credit to Billy Napier and the work he's done on this roster. Like DJ Lagway, it's also worth noting, he's there because of Billy Napier and the recruitment that he brought to the table there. So I'm high on Florida this year. I'm high on DJ Lagway this year. But I just want us to maybe just temper expectations a little bit and not say, oh, DJ Lagway's a failure, he's a bust, if he's not the best quarterback in the SEC. He's going to be really good. Let's all just relax there for a second on the need to everyone be the best this, the best that, the goat this, the goat that. All right? Let's get that straight. We got another coach that this one, honestly, this was the quote that I think probably got me the most riled up, if you will, from this Athlon segment. And again, Athlon's probably my favorite preview magazine out there right now, just so we're on the same page. But this anonymous coach has a quote on Georgia that to me is just a little bit bonkers. Check this out. Defensively, it's still an elite group, but they're thin at linebacker. What? What are we? I'll continue. Quote, the biggest question mark will be the offense under Stockton. They didn't chase any portal guys, so let's see if the kid can become elite. Let's tackle this in 2 parts. Let's start with the defensive side. Defensively, they're thin at linebacker. As soon as I read this, I sent that quote to someone very, very close to the Georgia football team and said, what are we talking about here? They said, linebacker literally is the deepest position on Georgia's roster. So I don't know who that coach was. There's a reason why he's anonymous. I mean, big old, hey, swing and a miss, pal. Swing and a miss on that one. Georgia, not only are they stacked with 4- and 5-star talent in that room, they also have Glenn Schumann and Kirby Smart on their coaching staff. A staff that, since they've gotten there, have not 1, not 2, but 3 Butkus Award winners. So even if they weren't names that had a lot of stars next to their name, I don't think it's inappropriate to assume that the coaching staff in and of itself would make sure they developed or had the right guys in place to be successful. Remember a year ago or so, you had guys transferring out of Georgia's linebacker room that kind of gave you a little eyebrow raise. Like, wait a second, this doesn't totally track. Why is, I'll just say it, Jamon Dumas-Johnson, why is he transferring out of Georgia? That dude is a guy that had a lot of success at Georgia over his career. Well, I talk to people close to Georgia, and they say nobody knows that room better than the players in that room. And the players in that room saw the young bucks in there. They're like, hey, this is a special group now. They're going to be really good. My playing time, not just going to go away, but it might get, cut into a fraction of what it was because of how good we are. I want to go play more snaps. I'm going to go somewhere else, is what was communicated to me. So for Georgia now, to drive this point home, they are not thin at linebacker. They are enormously talented. They feel enormously talented internally. They will have guys ready to roll. Linebacker is Georgia's best position. So just the best way I can say this is that's not true. That anonymous coach, that is not true. All right, that's the first part of this. Let's go back to the second part of that quote. Talking about Gunnar Stockton and what the offense is and that being a question mark, I hear that. But again, Georgia did go after portal guys, to be clear, in the winter cycle. I think they also during the spring might have just taken a gander at the portal if they had found the right guy. That's not them saying that Gunnar Stockton wasn't going to be good. It's just them saying we want to add competition, which is pretty much how Kirby Smart gets down. But here's the thing. That quote said, we'll see if Gunnar Stockton can be elite. That's not the point. That's missing the entire point around Georgia's offense. Gunnar Stockton is not going to be asked to be elite. Nobody's saying internally in Athens, I don't believe right now, that Gunnar Stockton's going to be, a first-round pick for Georgia when he leaves, or he's going to be, a Heisman Trophy guy. Like, I don't think that's even the expectation internally. You had a guy like that last year in Carson Beck, how you felt this time last year. Projected number 1 overall pick, projected Heisman Trophy winner. What was the problem? Receivers weren't good enough. Offensive line wasn't good enough. Running back room wasn't good enough. It wasn't good enough all around Carson Beck. And so the point for Georgia in 2025 is not can Gunnar Stockton be elite. It's can they be elite around him? Can they have dudes on the perimeter to go win for them? Noah Thomas, Zachariah Branch, all the guys we've talked about now ad nauseum for Georgia. Can they step up? It's not a quarterback thing for them. Yeah, Gunnar Stockton's got to do his job, but it's not a thing where Gunnar Stockton has to put the team on his back and Superman be elite for them to somehow find a way to get it done. If you watched the last episode of The Hard Count with Aaron Murray, he said something that I think a lot of us had maybe wondered about for a little bit around the Georgia locker room. And he, in not so many words, essentially said there were people in Georgia's locker room, per Aaron Murray, that maybe weren't the biggest fan of Carson Beck. I don't know if I'm putting too much to that, but I think that was essentially what he was saying. Gunnar Stockton, you watched it when he came in the game against Texas in Atlanta in the SEC championship game. There was an immediate vibe change. There was not this panic, we're back on our heels, what are we going to do? The vibe that you would almost expect from a team that is playing their second-string quarterback in the biggest game of their season to that point. It wasn't any of that. It was, we got our guy, let's roll. Like, they rally around Gunnar Stockton. So as much as I'll say the locker room itself, personnel-wise, has to be better around Gunnar Stockton, I think that Gunnar Stockton will get more out of this team from a emotional standpoint, which sounds weird to say out loud, but at quarterback, especially at a place like Georgia, you better have all 10 dudes around that quarterback believing in him and ready to go to war for him, right? Like Will Campbell said on his draft night, I'll fight and die for that man, speaking about Drake May. You better fight and die for Gunnar Stockton. I don't know if they would have or not done that for Carson Beck, but I'll tell you what, it feels a lot like they'll do that for Gunnar Stockton, and that's going to ultimately lead to good things on Saturdays for Georgia. So here's the last thing I'll say. You know who else is reading this outside of us? I don't know if Kirby Smart is spending a lot of time in Barnes & Noble, but I promise you, a quote like this got to his desk. I don't know how. I don't know who sent it to him, but I promise you, he somehow, some way got this. And Kirby Smart is the kind of guy that's been able to manufacture a chip on the shoulder for this team after national championships. You got Nolan Smith talking to the camera saying, y'all said we go 7-5, we want to do this, we want to do that. We're all sitting at home after watching that on Twitter like, dog, nobody said you were going to go 7-5. Nobody that actually had anything to say about Georgia that was credentialed had anything to say about that. Now you have Kirby Smart able to take a quote like this and say, the lines of scrimmage aren't going to be as good. We'll see what they are when it comes to linebacker. They're thin there. Can Gunnar Stockton be elite? He can take this quote, put it in front of his football team. He doesn't have to manufacture anything. You're making his job easy. You're making one of the best motivators in the sport. You're making his job easy, which we'll see what that equates to. But right now in the month of May, that wouldn't be a spot I'd want to be if I had to play Georgia on my schedule. So we'll let that be known. Linebacker room, it's not thin. I mean, smack yourself in the face. Not thin. Gunnar Stockton does not have to be elite. I'm not telling you Georgia's going to go ahead and win the national championship, but I'm just saying those things are not true, and Kirby Smart now has all the juice he needs to get that team rolling. Let that be known. All right, last anonymous coach quote that I want us to get to here pertains to Texas A&M, our friends out in College Station. Check out this quote around A&M. They didn't finish strong, but the turnaround here was remarkable. As coaches, we talked about the culture at this place really falling to rock bottom under Jimbo. You turn on the tape from Elko, and those kids are playing harder, playing smarter. That's coaching, but it's culture. It's the want to. Okay, y'all, I mean, we've said this for a while around A&M, and I just spent the last few minutes bashing some of these anonymous coaches and what they're saying. But, y'all, I think this coach hit it on the money. Okay, first things first, make sure you subscribe to College Football, nothing but college football year-round. If you want to hear more A&M content or want to get more A&M content, the best way to let us know that is by subscribing to the channel. So thank you in advance for that. But back to what I was saying. This is confirming, I think, what a lot of us thought when Mike Elko got hired. And then when you watch what actually happened on the field in College Station this year, this confirms what we've said about college football for a while. Even in the day and age of NIL and the transfer portal and talent acquisition, feeling like that's all that matters now, you still got to put it together. Culture still matters. And A&M is the perfect example of that. Under Jimbo Fisher and the top recruiting class. And all those guys transfer out, and like they didn't achieve anything, and we're all like, wait, why did that happen? This quote highlights it. There was no real culture under Jimbo Fisher. From the outside looking in, at best, it looked disorganized and lacking direction. This coach is telling us there was a culture problem. Okay, so if you think if that's true, I mean, that would check out with what we saw watching A&M play football. All right, so Mike Elko, when he got hired, what we said is he brings all the things that A&M needs and is lacking right now, and he brings those in spades. Toughness, culture, identity, all those things, and that showed up on the field. Like A&M, and this is funny to say, like A&M hasn't ever really lacked talent to compete for SEC championships. They've lacked all the other stuff. And so when we talk about A&M for the future, I am believing in A&M as much as anyone else right now in college football when you talk about the next 5 years. I truly am. Like, I'll say this, I think they will be a routine college football playoff attendee because of Mike Elko, as long as he's there. Because there's no reason it can't happen. Head coach, I believe in Elko. If you don't, that's your prerogative, but he's done enough to show me that he's a really good football coach and can do a lot. Talent, they're always going to recruit at a high level. They will always be well-resourced. They will always have a large care factor. That fan base, they're going to make sure they are as dialed in as possible to give themselves as much of a chance as possible to win on Saturdays. Why? Because they care about it, and they can impact the game on Saturdays now. Recruiting, what I just said, going to be in a great spot. Culture, they've been lacking it. They don't lack it anymore. Identity, you could have turned on A&M football under Jimbo Fisher, and you'd see a lot of names that you knew from the recruiting cycles if you kept up with those, but you didn't see any real identity or direction. You could not actually tell me what the identity of A&M football was. Now you can. Now you turn on the tape and you say, tough, gritty, physical, aggressive. The rest of that quote says they could potentially be one of the most aggressive and physical teams in the league. In the SEC, that'll win you some ball games. They're the most aggressive physical team in the league. So here's what I'll say. It's about to go down for A&M. Last year was the first year for Mike Elko, and it was as good a year as Jimbo Fisher had outside of COVID. The future is super bright, man. There is nothing outside of A&M to me that's worth doubting outside of the logo. If all you're doubting is the logo, shame on you for being small-minded because everything else is there. If you want to get caught up in the uniform colors and all that, be my guest. Everything else is there. Coach, talent, recruiting, resources. Recruiting geography is there. Like, there's nothing there around A&M for me to believe they're not going to have a ton of success here going forward. I've said it before. If we are the If we are the ones that are going to get hurt here believing in A&M, so be it. Never done it before, but I'm down to get hurt here for the first time. We're not buying stock every offseason in A&M. It's the first time doing it, but again, I'm telling y'all, man, they will be a routine college football playoff attendee, if not this year, in the years to come. Go ahead and take that to the bank. All right, I want to get to one of your voicemails that you sent us, because I think it was a really interesting thought. If you're new to the show, give us a call, leave a voicemail, 629-888-3931. Keep it a little bit concise so we can make sure we get it all on the air. But we got a call from one of y'all talking about the perception of Ryan Day relative to maybe some of the other great coaches in college football, specifically A1 Kirby Smart. Take a listen.
What up, JD? Dwayne Rollins, Columbus, Ohio. I got a question for you about Ohio State and Ryan Day. What do you think it will take for Ryan Day to earn the same level of respect as a coach that Kirby Smart gets? He's got the best win percentage. He just won a natty in his 6th year coaching as a head coach. And he doesn't get the same level of respect as a head coach or a football coach as Kirby Smart. And I don't really understand that. Kirby won back-to-back, so I understand why he gets the edge in that sense. But other than that, it doesn't really make a lot of sense to me why Ryan Day gets as much hate as he does. I get we're Ohio State. I get we're easy to hate. But just want your thoughts on that. Thanks, JD.
Dwayne, appreciate you calling in, brother. Again, 629-888-3931. Dwayne, I just want to validate you in what you're saying right now, because it's not crazy. Ryan Day won a lot of football games. Ryan Day won his first national championship last year. It took him as many years as a head coach to win his first natty as it did Kirby Smart to win his first natty. So people are saying, but JD, Kirby Smart did this. I'm just saying, 70-10 as a head coach. We keep talking about the SEC and how good a conference that is. Y'all, the Big Ten last year was the best conference in college football. So if you're going to compare conferences, be my guest, but that's my opinion on the matter. The Big Ten was the best conference in college football last year. So I don't think that's really an argument to say, well, but Kirby did it in the SEC. Yeah, he did do it in the SEC. And Ryan Day did it in the Big Ten in 2024. And if he does it in 2025, that's where this discussion, I think, gets some real traction. Because not only will Ryan Day have gone back-to-back like Kirby Smart did, Ryan Day will have gone back-to-back with different quarterbacks. Because as good as Kirby Smart is as a head coach, he's won both national titles with the same quarterback as Stetson Bennett. So what I'm trying to say here is he wins one more national championship, it becomes a conversation. But the reason why, Dwayne, to answer your question here, the reason why Ryan Day isn't getting the same respect as maybe a Kirby Smart got when he won his first national championship is Michigan. And I know that is like vinegar to the ears right now to hear, but it's the case. Because when he got the keys to Ohio State, he inherited a spot now from Urban Meyer where he'd gone 7-0 against Michigan. And now Michigan, to their credit, they had been working behind the scenes in the shadows and eventually found themselves in a spot where they were a national championship kind of team. So kind of preparation, that opportunity for Harbaugh and the boys. But the point being, you have to slay your dragon if you're Ryan Day. And his dragon right now is Michigan. You just have to. Like I keep saying this. The Michigan conversation for the folks in Columbus is like an infection. It's just, it's irritating, it's frustrating, and right now it's not giving you the biggest problem. You can live with it because you just won a national championship, but if you don't take care of that infection over the course of the next couple of years, it is going to be the end of you. It will be. It's going to fester, it's going to grow, and it's going to be at a certain point where it's intolerable. And that was the case for Kirby Smart for a period of time. Now, it wasn't quite as intense and as venomous as the Michigan-Ohio State rivalry, but who was Kirby Smart's dragon? Nick Saban. Right? That was a thing. Hey, Kirby, great coach, but like let's face it, he can't get over the hump and beat his old coach, can he? Man, that's his mentor, man. Take the pebble from my hand, grasshopper. Can't do it, can you? That was what folks were saying about Kirby Smart relative to Nick Saban. Now, it should be said, Kirby Smart didn't dominate that series over Saban, but guess what? He got his. He got one on the biggest stage in the national championship game in Indianapolis over his former boss and slayed his dragon. So for Ryan Day, yeah, you'd like to probably win a greater percentage of those games against Michigan, but you got to slay your dragon, period. That has got to happen because at that point in time, then you limit all the excuses you can make against Ryan Day to be the best coach in college football. Because right now, that's the first thing people go to. National title, that's nice. Win percentage, great. Can't beat Michigan, is what people are saying. Now, it should be noted he has one win over Michigan, so just It's not he's never done it, but you got to do it more if you want to be considered the best coach in the sport. And if he wins a national championship and can solve the Michigan problem, he will get that respect. And I'll say this too, I think he'll be the best coach in the sport. I mean, a lot of this pertains on what happens with Kirby, but that's how I feel about it with Ryan Day and Ohio State here going forward. Got to slay the dragon. It is Michigan, like Kirby slayed Saban during that national title run. Got to win another national championship. If you do that in the 12-team era or in the 16-team era, whenever we get to that point in time, then that conversation gets more traction. At that point, I think Ryan Day would get his RESP, Schmeet, find out what it means to me. All right, so we'll go ahead and leave that there as it pertains to Ryan Day and the Buckeyes and what they're going to be here in the future of college football. But Tier 1 status, absolutely on the table for Ryan Day and where they're going to be here over the course of the next few years. Great call, though. Again, 629-888-3931. Appreciate y'all calling in. Hey, great show from y'all, man. Appreciate y'all adding in. Appreciate y'all letting us know the kind of content you want to see. I put out the call to action again on my Twitter. I said we've done a lot of never too early previews. Y'all drive the show. What game you want us to preview next? So you said Auburn and Baylor. You said Miami, Notre Dame. Both those never too early previews are out now on the channel. So again, get at me on the socials, Instagram, Twitter, at JD PicKell. Let me know the content you want to see. Let me know what games you want us to preview here, whether it be on the show or on the YouTube channel. But the bottom line is the best way to make sure you don't miss any of that is by being subscribed. Hey, starting to feel like media days outside, man. Preview mags starting to drop. Weather's starting to change. I can't wait for it, man. We'll be in Atlanta here before you know it. But again, we appreciate y'all making this show what it is. For Caden Smith on the ones and the twos, for myself and JD PicKell, we appreciate y'all. We love y'all. We will keep this party rolling. We'll see y'all.